But I can tell you that beyond a shadow of a doubt, there's been no instance of any unusual activity within Fulton County. I have been personally involved in it.
My name's Grace. I'm 22 years old. I'm a senior at University of Georgia, and I live in Fulton County.
Okay.
So I came here to tell y'all my experience when I went and voted in person.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I went and I voted in person on October 23rd with my younger sister, who was a first-time voter. And when I went to check in and give them my license and verify my identity to get my voter card, I was told that there was an absentee ballot already out for me. But I never requested one. I've never voted absentee. I always go vote in person. And I had to sign an affidavit saying that I did not request an absentee ballot. So I got my voter card, I voted in person, everything went fine after that. The next day, my mom called the voter center and was told that somebody voted absentee in my name on October 7th. We don't know who that is, and we haven't gotten any answers about that since. And on October 28th, I filled out an open records request for the Fulton County Voter's Office. I received an email from Fulton County Registration Chief, Mr. Ralph Jones, and I called him. He asked about my experience, and he told me he was going to further investigate the situation and get back to me with more answers. November 3rd, his assistant, Mariska Bodison, emailed me to say that my request was given to the Secretary of State's office for further investigation. I haven't heard anything else from either of them. Then I got an email from my dad's friend and lawyer, Mr. Bob Cheeley. I spoke with Mr. Cheeley on November 19th on the phone, and he wanted to know how the investigation was going. And I didn't know, so I tried to call around to find out more answers for him. And I couldn't get anyone on the phone. Once I did, in the Secretary of State's office, nobody had any answers for me. They hadn't seen my open records request, and they had no answers about how the investigation was going. Later, I spoke with Sharon Griffin in the elections office at the Secretary of State, but she couldn't tell me anything either. I never got another call back, and at this point, I was knowing that I was getting the runaround from everybody. November 23rd, I received an email that my open records request was never received by the Secretary of State's office and was asked to submit another one on their website. And I did so and emailed the officer back and told him that I did. There was no name attached to that email. It was just open records officer. On November 30th, I received another email from the open records officer in the Secretary of State's office to file a complaint. The last line of this email read, "This will serve as the final response to this request, and your request is now closed." We tried to call the Secretary of State's office again and couldn't get anybody on the phone. So I am left with still no answers. No one will answer the phone or call me back. And I want to know ultimately if my vote was counted or if the vote that was voted for me scratched my vote out.
That's a good. Thank you. Wow. Senator Dolezal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Can you tell me your name again?
I'm Grace.
Grace, thanks for being here, Grace.
Thank you.
Can you clarify for me what happened? And I don't think I caught it. Were you able to vote in person?
Yes, sir.
Was it a provisional ballot or was it a regular ballot as far as you know your vote was counted?
As far as I know, it was a regular ballot.
Thank you. Did you have the opportunity to go onto the My Voter page to see when you allegedly requested your absentee ballot, when you allegedly voted by absentee? Have you had a chance to do that yet?
No, sir, I haven't gotten anything. When my mom called the voter center, she was told by someone on the phone that an absentee ballot was cast in my name on October 7th.
Great. Maybe think we're going to have a break, Mr. Chairman. I'd love to plug your information in here. I don't want you to announce your date of birth to the world, but you can come enter it here. I'd like to see this because you are not the first person that we have heard of that has had this happen. And this, to me, is probably some of the most discouraging testimony.
2,506 felons voted illegally in Georgia. 66,248 underage and therefore ineligible people to illegally register to vote before their 17th birthday, when the law requires 17 and a half years old. At least 2,423 individuals to vote who were not listed as registered. 1,043 individuals to cast ballots who had illegally registered to vote using a post office box. 4,926 individuals voted in Georgia who had registered to vote after their Georgia voter registration date, thereby canceling their Georgia voter registration. 10,315 or more individuals to vote who were deceased by the time of the election. 395 individuals to vote in Georgia who had cast ballots in another state, which is illegal in both states.
This is where the absentee ballots and military ballots are being tabulated on election day. So we have the tape from first thing in the morning all the way past the close of the polls. What you have is essentially two Republican field organizers who were sent here to be observers. At no time were they actually permitted to observe. They are roped off with the press on the side. They're going to get there at about 8 o'clock to watch the tabulation of absentee and military ballots. But according to their affidavits, at about 10 o'clock, there was one person working the polls who told everyone in the room to leave on the basis they were going to stop counting and return at 8:30 in the morning. So we're at about 10 o'clock. And what you'll notice is that the workers are present, working, and you have, back in that corner I pointed out to you, the press and the Republican observers. There is a lady who has blonde braids who comes out to announce we're going to stop counting. Everyone go home. And in fact, we see that. What happens is everyone clears out, including the Republican observers and the press, but 4 people stay behind and continue counting and tabulating well into the night from that point, which is going to be about 10:25 when they all clear out, or 10:30. And they will continue counting unobserved, unsupervised, not in public view as your statute requires, until about 1 in the morning. The reason we know this is because when our Republican observers were forced to leave, they went to the Central Tabulation Center and they got word from a news crew that in fact counting had continued. They have information that not everybody left according to plan, and some people stayed behind. So this shocked them, so they returned back to State Farm Arena at about 1 o'clock in the morning, where they confirmed that in fact people had just left State Farm Arena in contravention of what they had been told by the supervisors who are running this operation. So we can see the change. You're going to watch this place be busy and filled up to emptied at some time between 10:25 and 10:35, which is consistent with what the affidavits say. So here you see it's all cleared out. We just went from 10:25 to 10:37. The place is a ghost town. This is where the people were vacated and told, go home, come back at 8:30. We will now stop working and stop counting. But notice who stays behind. You have 4 people, consistent with our affidavits, who stayed behind. And so you'll see the lady in purple. You'll see 2 women in yellow in the back, which is where the scanners are there at the top right frame. And then the lady with the blonde braids also, who told everyone to leave. Those are the 4 people who will stay behind. The Republican observers said they were the last people to leave State Farm Arena, along with the Fox News crew, accepting those 4 people. So what you're going to see, look at the ladies in yellow. You'll see that they will begin just sitting still, doing nothing, ostensibly not working, because after all, they said they're going to stop counting. They will wait until the witnesses over there in that roped off area, the press and the observers, leave the room. Then you'll see them move into action and begin scanning ballots. Okay, so I think what we can do now is fast forward to about 11. Do you see them? Yeah. Okay, there they walk. They're walking off. But the ladies in yellow are still there. Yes, keep your eyes on the lady in purple and the two in yellow and the woman in the blue apron with blonde braids, because those are the people who stay behind. Okay, so what you're going to see happen at about 11 o'clock is, once everyone is gone, coast is clear, they are going to pull ballots out from underneath a table. What was the chain of custody? Where did they come from? Who put them there? When did they put them there? Here's what we can tell you for sure. At about 8 o'clock in the morning, and we're going to roll this back and show it to you. There you go. So now they're going to start pulling these ballots out from under this table. This table, the black one, was placed there by the lady with the blonde braids at about 8:22 a.m. in the morning. So she put that table there. So the same person who's staying behind now, the same person who cleared the place out under the pretense that we're going to stop counting, is the person who put the table there at 8:22 in the morning. The gentleman in the red. So he just pulled one out. What are these ballots doing there, separate from all the other ballots? And why are they only counting them whenever the place is cleared out with no witnesses? If it's only 3 scanners working for 2 hours, right, that's 18,000 ballots that went through. So we're now at 11:09. There were, in addition to the 4 workers that you see there were 2 other people who were bringing ballots in and out. The gentleman in red that you saw, for the next 2 hours, what we would see is that this operation just goes on and on and on. They're scanning until about 12:55 in the morning. So we kept the video running. And, we can show you the people who gave us the affidavits reappearing at that time, just as they said, around 1 a.m. to find out, are they in fact counting after they told us they would stop working or not? 12:50, you can see these people are still there. Basically, they've wrapped up. This is the end of their operation. They've now completed about 2 hours of unsupervised tabulation of ballots. So now you're going to watch them leave. Our 2 witnesses come back. They had to fight through security to get in there, but they did. And they say in their affidavits that 2 different people affirmed for them that people had been counting from, 10:30 when they cleared out until about approximately 5 minutes before they arrived. And they have the names of those people who told them that. Okay, there are our guys right there in the lower left-hand corner. So they've now returned to State Farm Arena, having heard from the press that they had continued counting because they wanted to see for themselves if that was really happening, which was a complete contradiction to what they had been told by at least one person from Fulton County who's an employee and spokesperson, and also the lady in the blonde braids we spoke about earlier. One of them had the name Ruby across her shirt somewhere, and that's as much as they know about who those people were. So our guys go in, they look around, they ask a few questions, and they leave. It is from their affidavits that we even knew to ask about this. And you might recall that the press reported there was like a supposed water break or water main break or pipe break or whatever, and that this was an excuse for people clearing out of State Farm Arena. Okay, so 8:21. You'll notice the table's not there at all. Here it comes. There's the table going in that we're talking about where the ballots were obscured. That lady who's moving it is the lady with the blonde braids. She's dressed differently in the morning, so it took us a while to figure out that's the same person that you see at night with the blue apron on who's yelling for everyone to leave and who stays behind to help tabulate ballots after they've all left. So I can see that she's the one who chose to place that table there, close to the scanners.
He testified this morning that the leak occurred at 6:07 and was repaired by 8:07 a.m. From what I'm seeing here, I don't see anybody moving around to avoid a leak.
No.
He did state that the leak was greatly exaggerated and that it was not like wiped out the whole place, but I just thought that might be.
What's that?
I mean, the water leak, according to the commission chairman, was at 6:07 a.m.
I'm told that we have a video that it was a toilet leak and not a water main break. But
Nope.
I know that Mr. Pitt's name was mentioned in one of our affidavits, and our witness says that he was physically present in this room clear up until everyone was made to leave. So presumably, if he was in the room at the time, they made the announcement he would be a witness to that. He was one of the last to leave, but he did leave in front of our witnesses, before our witnesses.
We heard from the Secretary of State's office earlier, just a couple hours ago, that they've investigated this repeatedly, that they had a monitor on site the entire time. And frankly, this has been debunked for weeks by our Secretary of State's office.
I doubt he's seen the video.
Evidence, then I think the courts will probably be able to handle this once you present your evidence to them. As I'm aware, there have been about 40 lawsuits dismissed already. And according to the law of the state of Georgia, we do not have the power to submit alternate electors. The provision in the law is quite clear at 21-501F.
Is there a question?
Senator, Senator, we'll ask questions. We'll have a time for statements at the conclusion. If we
Yeah,
do
my
that.
question is, the question is, since this has been debunked repeatedly, what evidence can you give to us that counters what our elections officials have presented us with only an hour ago?
You just saw it. Your officials need to watch the video.
What about the fact that they say that they had a monitor there the entire time?
I can't speak for them.
Well, thank you. They did not have the video. They said they had a monitor the whole time. Be quiet.
You're
Okay.
looking at the room.
There's no Secretary of State.
Then maybe we should invite them back in.
All right. Well, we may need to do that.
And they were in that roped off area I just pointed to with the press. Not only could they not see a single ballot because they were so far away, they couldn't see those scanners at all. The only reason that they knew the scanners were there is because the election official, Ms. Waller, told them so.
And just for the record, we did not receive this video until late last night, and we were reviewing it in the middle of the night last night. So we're still reviewing it. There's still a lot more to review.
Okay, Senator Parent, one more question.
Did you mention that Chairman Pitts was there, or you spoke to him about being there during this episode?
I was not there. This is a witness affidavit that says he was there.
Okay, because-
Almost up until, he was one of the last people to leave. Not as late as the witnesses that we have, but he was there.
So he just told us he wasn't there just an hour ago.
Okay. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
One of the witness affidavits says he's there.
Well,
Thank you.
Senator Gooch?
Maybe a question for Senator Parent. I heard you say several times this has been debunked, but I also just heard that this video just appeared last night. So how could it have been debunked?
my response, not being an expert, is that these very allegations came up right away after the election, almost a month ago, and have been repeatedly discussed by the Secretary of State's office, including everything that we're seeing here.
But is this
And
not
there have been
the-
explanations for all of it.
Is this not the first time this video has been shown?
I believe that this is the
Yes.
first time this video has been
Yes.
seen.
And
It
the-
is.
And
That's
the news
correct.
media hasn't seen this video or have not?
They have
put it
not.
out? They have not
Because
put
I've
it out.
been in contact with counsel for the State Farm Arena, and
It will be today.
The machine vote is highly suspect. I think if I recall correctly, the timeline, the upload of votes.
Yes, I was going to ask you that.
03:36 in the morning, that of the 4th. Georgia had the largest single ballot upload, and it was from multiple centers, but it was a 200,000 ballot upload and at 0336.
What time was that?
0336
Did that
on the
include
4th.
Fulton County?
That was across multiple precincts across the state.
I would give ourselves, Fulton County, an A+ for the work that we did with respect to the November 3rd election.
A Fulton County poll worker and the Fulton County Georgia supervisor of registrations. And so what we're seeing here is Ruby Freeman and her daughter Shay Freeman Moss in what appears to be the concealment and transferring of a USB hard drive on election night while they were counting votes. This is Ruby Freeman right here, and you're going to see that she starts the chain of events. She grabs the USB, then what appears to be USB, I should say. Then she passes it to Shay Freeman Moss here, who's the supervisor of registrations. Ruby Freeman is the one you've seen on all the videos, and you saw pulling ballots out of beneath a table at the State Farm Arena. She was the one pulling them out there, and you could see it clearly. So she's going to pass what looks to be a USB to her daughter, Shay Freeman Moss, and then a third unidentified male comes up, and then she passes that to him. So let's check it out and watch this in slow motion. So there's the third guy. He comes up. He's in the view of the camera. He stands around for a little bit. You see Shay starts to look around as her mom reaches back. So right here, she starts to reach back. You're going to see Shay start maneuvering, eventually look in this direction to see if anybody is watching. You're going to see him looking in that direction as well. So there she goes. They're both looking this way. She's reaching right here. She just grabs something. She's looking over here. He's looking out there. She just grabs something right here. Right? Clearly something in her hand right there. Grabs it. Her hand curls up. Holds it. Turns around. Puts it in her chair. You see this? He's constantly looking. She's looking. They don't realize there's a camera right behind them. It's in her hand right here. She keeps turning. She's concealing it. She looks back at him, gives him the key to move forward. Right? She still has it right here. This whole time his hands are in his pockets. He starts to do the stretch where, you put your arms up. Starts to do that stretch. She stands up, takes it from in her hand right here. As he takes his hands out of his pockets, you see her reach around and slide it into his pocket. So he does the fake yawn, the fake stretch, the middle school, I'm gonna put my arm around you during the movie. Fake stretch right here. You see her hand coming up, slides it right in there. Now let's look again. You see her hand not just by his pocket, but you see her finger open up for the release right there. Check that out. Right there, you see the finger release. Drop it in. And we're moving on. They didn't think they'd get caught, guys. They didn't think they'd get caught.
We heard from the Secretary of State's office earlier, just a couple hours ago, that they've investigated this repeatedly, that they had a monitor on site the entire time. And frankly, this has been debunked for weeks by our Secretary of State's office.
I doubt he's seen the video.
Evidence, then I think the courts will probably be able to handle this once you present your evidence to them. My question is, since this has been debunked repeatedly, what evidence can you give to us that counters what our elections officials have presented us with only an hour ago?
You just saw it. Your officials need to watch the video.
What about the fact that they say that they had a monitor there the entire time?
I can't speak for them.
Well, thank you. They did not have the video. They said they had a monitor the whole time. Be quiet.
You're
Okay.
looking at the room.
There's no Secretary of State.
All right, well, we may need to do that. Senator Tillery. All right, well, Senator Gooch.
Maybe a question for Senator Parent. I heard you say several times this has been debunked, but I also just heard that this video just appeared last night. So how could it have been debunked?
Well, my response, not being an expert, is that these very allegations came up right away after the election, almost a month ago, and have been repeatedly discussed by the Secretary of State's office, including everything that we're seeing here.
But is this
And
not
there have been explanations for all of it.
Is this not the first time this video has been shown?
I believe that this is the
Yes.
first time this video has been
Yes.
seen.
And
It
the-
is.
And
That's
the news
correct.
media hasn't seen this video or have not?
They have
put it
not.
out? They have not
Because
put it
I've been in contact with counsel for the State Farm Arena, and
Will be today.